Greetings, friends and future friends. This video I call Studio Shop Videos. Now, if you're like me and you don't have a lot of money to pay somebody to come in and fix and repair things in your studio, you got to do it yourself. So I'm going to show you how you can fix and repair and adjust things in your studio. That way you can get back to work creating, whether it be videos or music or whatever you're a creator of. So let's go see if we can find something to fix. So we're in the shop today, and what I want to show you in this video is how to weld plastic and aluminum. Now, in these procedures I'm going to show you, you're going to see that you can weld plastic and aluminum without having all the fancy gear as a professional welder would have. You can do these things. And another thing I want you to know is to be aware of these procedures exist. So if you have to fix something in your house or your apartment, in your car, you're going to know that you can do these things, welding aluminum, welding plastic, with the equipment I have right here in front of you. So let's start welding. So when you buy a plastic welding kit off of Amazon, make sure it has a case. That's one thing I looked at. And this one had a case. I bought it. And when you open it up, you have a heating gun, which this is the gun that uses to heat those staples up. You have a pair of side cutters to cut off the ends of those staples. And you have a blade, a straight blade, razor blade, which you don't really need. Now, the other thing that happens that they give you in this kit is this little thing right here. And this is really cool. This actually will fit inside, if I can get a good angle on it, will actually fit inside the gun right here. And then it'll heat up. And then when you want to smooth off the plastic area that you just welded, you can heat that up and smooth that plastic out. Really nice. So that's what comes in the kit, and you have everything to get started in welding plastic. Now, when you buy this welding kit, you come with different size staples. Now, this staple is, if you look at it, it has like an end on it, like a shape of an M, where this fits into the gun, and then it heats up. And special areas like corners, like a place where you have a corner, you might want to use this kind of a staple. Then for real light stuff or something that you don't need a lot of strong bonding, you have this staple. And you can see it's kind of like a wavy line. And again, you plug this into the gun, you turn it on, and you melt that in. And if it's, again, you can see that it's not that big of a wave, just enough to put a piece of metal across that weld to hold it together. Now, this is the one I use a lot. In fact, I just fixed the cowling on my Land Rover with this one, my old '04 Land Rover. The plastic broke on it, and I used this. So what you do is you put it in the gun. This goes in the gun. This other end goes in the gun. Then this whole element heats up, and then it melts right into the plastic. And this is the one I'm going to show you how to use today. This one, it comes in handy. So what I've done for this example is take a piece of plastic, actually a lid I had off an old container, and I cut it so we can see that there's actually it comes apart. And being I cut it, it's got a nice smooth finish, but that's one of the things you want to do is bring everything as close as you can together. So we're going to start welding this with this welding gun. Now the big thing you want to make sure of is, remember, this gets a little warm, so you don't want to be touching this. But it's pretty easy. You take the staple that I showed you, and you put it right in the gun. You stick this one in that hole right there. And you stick that one in that hole, and the other one like this. So what you're doing is sticking one end of the staple into this side of the gun, and the other end of the staple into that side. Okay, we're all ready to go. We got the gun all ready to go. We have a staple in there all ready to go. So let's zoom in on the project and get started. Make sure everything's staying together. Now what I like to do is just push down. Now one thing we want to do is we want to melt this in, but we don't want to melt it past the thickness of the plastic. So we're going to push the gun. You're going to see it heats up, and it works its way right in there, and that's it. That's all the farther we want to go. Then we go over, and we're going to grab another one. Again, put it down, turn it on, and and just push it in there and release it, and come back, put another one in there, and come down here and heat it up. Good deal. And we'll go with another one, place it right in there, melt it down into place. And again, we'll put another one on here and go over here like this. Good deal. And place it over here like next to that. Heat it up. And boom, there we go. Now the next thing is we want to take these ends of these staples and cut them off. Now what I like to do is take a pair of pliers and put on top of them, because I don't want these little pieces flying everywhere. Just go over there, take your cutters down below, and you got it. Let that go over there. Come over here. There, and just like this, right there. There we go. And what we're doing is you call these on the fly. I like to keep these being down here sometimes. I want to make sure that if you caught anything or if you caught somebody's foot, somebody walking past their feet. And basically just go over here and cut these off. And go over here and cut it off. And go over this one. And again this one. And this. And the last one. And there you go. So now you can see that we welded these two pieces together. And I'm actually pulling them apart. You can't pull them apart because the metal in there is holding them together. Now we did make a mistake. And you can see this is something that you don't want to do. Now, you can see this one, we put too much pressure and it came through the back side. And the second one was a little bit, but the rest of them you can't even see because I realized that, hey, I can only go so deep. And you really don't see them on this side. Again, I cut this piece and it looks a little bit jagged here. But if you were actually putting two pieces of plastic together, this is the way you could do it. And if you had a little better grip on it, now if I went the whole way down, you would see that this would be fully repaired. So now I want to show you this attachment here on the end of the gun. It just slides right onto those two prongs of the gun and it'll heat up. Now you got to be careful because that end right here is going to get really hot. But I'm going to show you how this works. So now you have this place right here. You pull down on the trigger, and what it's going to do is it's going to smooth that plastic out because now it's melting the plastic. And if you look, you can actually see the grooves of where that metal piece right here is starting to disappear. And also do this in a well-ventilated area too, because that plastic is burning and you don't want to breathe too much of those gases. But right here, I can actually smooth that out. And that's really looking good. And right here, you can see, and right if I get right in here on this one, it smooths it all out. And that way, you can actually smooth things out between those. And right now, you can't even see. The only thing you can see is those two marks of where the staple came up. So if you looked at it real close, you can now see that the marks of where the staple went in are actually gone because I used that tool to smooth over that plastic. Now there's another thing that comes with the kit, and that's this little piece of mesh. And when you look at it, it's just a piece of steel mesh. But I'm going to show you how you can use this also on really thin pieces of plastic. So let's zoom back in. So what you can do is put this metal down and make sure it goes nice and flat. And then take the gun that has this end on it and push down and actually melt that into place. And you can see it slowly is getting, and now what you're doing is you're actually melting that plate, that piece of steel mesh, into the plastic. And what you want to do is just keep rubbing on it. You're going to see the plastic just comes up a little bit. And now you're just taking and going. Now you can see the plastic's melting a little bit. And then you're going to work from here to work that way. And get a little bit more in the center here. So basically, we're just melting, heating up that metal, and then it heats up the plastic. And as you can see, it's working its way. It takes a little longer than the other way, doing it with the staples, but it's actually working right in there. You can see that it's actually getting right in there, and the plastic is actually bubbling up through the mesh. And going good, going good. And now you can see it's all bubbled up in there, looking really good. And now we'll let that cool off a little bit, and we'll work on this other side. So then we get in here, heat that up a little bit, and there we go. I can see it heating up already. It's going good, good, and that's heating up. Working that in there, working that in there. We get this edge started. Let me take that and just mesh that right in. And you'd want to do this when you're talking about some real thin plastic that you couldn't put a staple through. Because if you had the thickness, the staple's going to probably hold a lot more, but you can still use this to mend the plastic, weld the plastic together. This side's taking a little longer to heat up. Oh, there we go. I can see it now. There we go. Now we got it going on. And there we go. Now we're getting it going. And it's melting real nice. You can see the plastic is actually melting and coming up through the mesh. And there you go. So then we'll put our gun down, and we'll let that cool off a little bit. So now that it's cooled down, you can see that that mesh actually went right into the plastic. You can see where the plastic melted through. Boy, that's still pretty warm. It's been sitting here for a while, and it's still pretty warm. But the plastic actually came up through the mesh, and that's actually welded that together. And although it might flex a little bit, it's still going to hold that together. And this is what I would use if you're talking about a thin piece of plastic. Now, these welds we did today, I'm fighting with the cameras and lighting and everything, and I wanted to get the idea across. But if you're really going to do this job, you take your time and do it. You can really do it nice and neat and make it work. When I was working on my old truck, my old Land Rover, when I fixed that, got done welding it real carefully, it looked like brand new from the outside. So that's plastic welding. Now, the best way to do it is to buy yourself a kit like this, which has the gun, the staples, and all the extra tools, and the other attachments for the gun to smooth things out. And it even comes with some steel mesh down below. And when you have a setup like this, you can repair a lot of those plastic parts that break for you. So what we're going to do today is weld these two pieces together, this piece of aluminum. I want to make a little bit of a angled bracket right here. And I'm just going to take this piece of aluminum and weld it to this piece right here. So we have these two pieces, we're going to weld them together. And that's what our project's going to be today. Now, the first thing we got to do before we do anything is clean these pieces up. Because the biggest thing in welding this way with a torch is we need to make sure everything is nice and clean. So we're going to fire up the wire wheel and clean them. Now we have this piece nice and clean and this piece nice and clean. When we stick that on there, it's going to be really easy to weld because it's nice and clean. So today we're going to be using these Hobart welding rods. Now what they actually call them is a brazing rod. They're aluminum rods that have a lot of zinc in them. And I think they melt at like 750 degrees. So you can use a standard propane torch to melt them. And this is the rods we're going to be using. Then for our torch, we're just going to be using a benzomatic torch. I got the trigger on here. It actually has a sparker to light it up and turn it on and off. All right, we have our project all mounted in the vise. I got it clamped down. So now all we're going to do is take the torch, heat this up, and then we're going to bring our welding rod right along here. And when it gets hot enough, it's going to melt right along there and stick right to that aluminum. And we'll go the whole way around. Let's see if we can do it. And there you go. It's all welded up. Now you can see sometimes you have to really be careful with the temperature because it pulls. But now we have this piece welded to that piece. And it was just that easy. So now our project is finished. We welded these two pieces together. Now if you look at it, you can see the bead isn't too bad along the side. It got a little warm up on the front, and I got a little bit too much on the front, but I could always grind that away. But you can see how it beads right in between the two pieces, and it's holding it really nice and taut. Really good stuff. You know, I'll be honest with you, I haven't welded for a long time. When I used to have motorcycles, I did a lot of welding in that. And I've even had somebody say they could use this on a water pump that they fixed. But, you know, it's been a long time since I welded, and actually this is the first time I've welded this in a long time for this tutorial, but I wanted to show you, and I want to show you how strong that is. Matter of fact, I've been trying to get it, and I've actually bent this thing all up, trying to, it's not on there. I'm putting everything I can. So this weld might not be as strong as if you would TIG welded, because when you're TIG welding, you're actually going to penetrate into both metals. But for a aluminum brazing rod, this stuff is really, really strong. So even if you're not using this in your studio and you might want to get into arts and crafts or something like that, you can use this. And in fact, I'm going to show you a picture of a guitar that I built using the same theory, using this aluminum brazing rod. Now this is an all aluminum guitar I built using the same brazing practice that I showed you. And it turned out pretty good. As you can see, I used those same brazing techniques to put this guitar together, welded it right up. You can see how I welded the fretboard to that aluminum tubing. So you can see the aluminum tubing makes up the neck. And at the very end, I took some aluminum angle iron and welded it to that tubing to give a place for the tuners to be mounted. To hear this guitar in action, go to one of my music videos called Hell's Blues. There you'll hear the intro of that song being played by this guitar. So that's how you can weld a piece of aluminum using a regular torch and the Hobart aluminum welding rod, or as they call it, brazing rod. So I hope this video showed you that you can fix and repair these things yourself. That way you don't have to have someone else come in and do it. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. You'll help us grow the channel. That way we can fix more stuff. So take care, my friends, and thanks for watching.